Support.
The maestro, please!
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York or Japan.
Well, it's that time of year again. Yes, that time of year where we talk about a Drake song. And today that Drake song is going to be Way Too Sexy, featuring Future and Young Thug.
Drake.
So yeah, we've talked about Drake a few times at this point.
God's plan, God's plan. I hold back sometimes I won't.
Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me.
And Drake has continued to put out hits as Drake does, such as
Tootsie slide, then I hit it double time, then I hit a spin, cause we spun that block a couple times if it's not the right.
and
We'll see what's about to happen next, okay? Okay, okay, we'll see what's about to happen next, okay?
for those who know this series, you'll notice I skipped the most recent Drake song we talked about. You know, the one he did with
Future.
Last time we mentioned Future was also the last time we mentioned Drake when we looked at
Life is good. You know what I mean? Like,
100,000 for the cheapest ring on a nigga finger, little bitch.
Since then, Future has continued to put out hits on his own,
Feel like I can be a trillion now. Yeah, I'ma be the one that they
and do some collaborations that got up there as well.
Making it harder for the next nigga to spoil you. Making it harder for the next nigga to trust you. Making
Young Thug.
Quite some time since we mentioned Young Thug, though, back when we did
Havana, ooh, nah, nah. Half of my heart is in Havana, ooh, nah.
been up to a little bit and got some more pop hits on his name, whether they're on his own studio albums,
Everything litty, I love when it's hot. Turn to the city, I broke out the notch. Got some more millies, I keep me.
or just like Future, doing some high-profile collaborations.
ain't nobody got to go crazy. I got what you need. Everybody think you shy, but I know you free.
Background.
Way Too Sexy was released on September 3rd of 2021. Charted 2 weeks later on September 18th at #1, and as of the end of September, it currently sits at #2. Way Too Sexy is off of Drake's 6th studio album, Certified Lover Boy, that was released the same day. Way Too Sexy is the first single off of the album. The second, not being released too long ago, is
Wait, well, yeah, girls want girls, well, yeah, well, yeah. Girls want girls where I'm from, yeah.
It is worth noting that both singles did chart on the Hot 100, as well as every other song on this album. In fact, of the top 10 spots on the Hot 100, Drake had 9 of them. It is quite obvious that the song both samples and interpolates
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy, yeah.
The sample appears in the very beginning of the song and is used pretty much throughout the entirety of it.
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York or Japan.
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. And I am too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Appropriately, all members of Right Said Fred when that song was released have been given writing credits. Credits besides, obviously, Drake, Future, and Young Thug include TM88 and 2Dope. TM88, also known as Trackman88 or simply Brian Simmons, is no stranger to the hip-hop industry and has a couple of big pop hits to his name as well, those being
I just rolled a pound at my bake sale. Bitches going down at my bake sale.
and more importantly,
I don't really care if you cry. I don't really shouldn't have a lie.
Lesney Ragland, aka 2Dope, on the other hand, has only one pop hit, that being this song. Way Too Sexy is released both by Republic and Drake's OVO.
Form.
Way Too Sexy is a trap song, is 4 minutes 17 seconds long, is in E minor, and is 68 beats per minute, or 136 if you go twice as fast. This song opens with the Right Fred Said sample.
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt.
That then brings us to Future doing the chorus.
I'm too sexy for this syrup, too sexy for your girl.
We then get the first verse done by Drake.
Okay, alright, that's fine.
Okay.
Before going back to Future for the next chorus.
Too sexy for this world, too sexy for this life.
Future then continues with his verse.
I pop out, get ghosts on a bitch, you don't know where I went.
Before going back to give us another chorus.
I'm too sexy for the trap, too sexy for the cap.
We then get the third and final verse done by Young Thug.
Too sexy to count, fitty, my neck, Bugatti, red diamonds, spaghetti.
We then transition into the outro, which is just the chorus of the song but slowed down and with a different drum beat. Which ultimately ends the song.
Synth.
Besides the Right Fred Said sample, the synth is actually the first thing we hear, starting off on that low E flat before jumping to B flat, before jumping to the B flat an octave above that, but doing this little fall off of each one it hits. It then repeats that, but without that low E flat.
I am too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts.
The second synth we hear has a different wave shape and is sustained, starting off on that E flat, before quickly jumping to the E flat an octave higher and then dropping to B flat, which it simply repeats.
Lead.
Technically also a synth, but I decided to give it its own section because it's much more prominent. Starting again off on that E flat, jumping quickly to B flat, then to A, and then going back to B flat, which it holds for the rest of the bar, and it repeats this ad nauseum. We do get a change later in the song, though. That B flat it ends on isn't sustained. It still holds it for a beat and a half, but then quickly transitions to these re-articulations that we hear.
Bass.
Melodically, one of the more simplistic basses we looked at, it starts off just giving us a bunch of low E flats, given it's extremely syncopated. Have a couple of variations, such as this one, which actually ends each phrase with that drop down in the octave, going E flat to E flat, but hitting that B flat in the middle. It does have an additional variation later on in the song in that first sub-phrase. Instead of just doing a bunch of E flats that are syncopated, it does a bunch of E flats that are syncopated, but with a D in there somewhere.
Intro.
The intro, which is just the I'm Too Sexy sample, as I've stated before, melodically focuses a lot on E flat and B flat, but it does hit C sharps, which is outside of the key. That will be important later. Rhythmically speaking, it is just a bunch of dotted 8ths and 16th notes, but it does have those 8th notes at the end, both in duples and triples.
I am too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts. I am too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York or Japan.
Chorus.
For the most part, Future actually emulates rhythmically what Right Said Fred was doing, those dotted 8ths with the 16ths, although there is the occasional 32nd and dotted 16th. Melodically, though, it's very much just back and forth between E flats and Gs, given Future's auto-tune, so that's probably why there's a much smaller melodic range as opposed to Right Said Fred, who is actually singing, kind of.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm too sexy for this syrup, too sexy for your girl, too sexy for this world, too sexy for this ice, too sexy for that jack. Yeah.
Future basically just repeats this same idea ad nauseum, though he's too sexy for different things.
I'm too sexy for this chain, too sexy for your game, too sexy for this fame. Yeah. I'm too sexy for the trap, too sexy for that cap, too sexy for that jack. Yeah.
Drake's verse.
Drake starts off his verse doing these back and forths between dotted 8ths and 16ths before transitioning into just more consistent 16ths. Very much staying melodically, though, between E flat and G.
Okay, alright, that's fine. Okay, I'm feeling too sexy to accept requests. Way too sexy. And I'm way too
sexy to go unprotected. Way too sexy. And she popped a Tesla, now she gonna let you.
In the following phrase, Drake essentially repeats it with some alterations for changed words.
Okay, alright, that's fine. Okay, think we got too sexy for that metro housing. Way too sexy. Diamond popped out, almost swallowed 60,000. 60 pieces. Section need more things in here, I like it crowded.
It's in the third phrase and the end of Drake's verse that we get some variation, doing many more 16th notes, and the range increased all the way to that B down to that same E.
Whoa, whoa, yeah, I like it crowded. Oh, you like the boy, well tell me what you like about him. You a turned a little thotty, ain't no wife about it. I'ma fuck her friends and send her back to metro housing.
Future's verse.
As opposed to Drake, who predominantly did groups of 2s and 4s, Future, as Future does, focuses mostly on triples.
Yeah, I pop out, get ghosts on a bitch, you don't know where I went. Pray for all my dogs, all my niggas behind the fence. Dripping in it, I was spilling in a new designer gear by Coaster. Pay attention to the detail, going two-tone on choker.
He pretty much does every variation of the triple. The 8th, the 16th, there's a 32nd and a dotted 16th, there's even a quarter note. But melodically, just like Drake, very much stays between that E flat and G flat, minus a couple of Ds at the end.
Young niggas always ready to murk, some call them some smokers. Young nigga have emotion, you don't make sure the car gets. Did a 360, windmill when I left the scene. That's that action, her best work on her knees.
In the final phrase of his verse, though, he does do a lot more groups of 2s and 4s as opposed to 3s and 6s. Still very much between E flat and G, but the big thing here is that there's an additional bar at the end, making the final phrase 5 bars as opposed to 4.
Too sexy for this cash, too sexy for this serve, too sexy for these pills, I'm too sexy for this. I get cash wherever I fly, got bitches sexing on me. Money, cars, and all the jewelry make a bill of sexy. I get cash wherever I fly, got bitches sexing on me.
Young Thug's verse.
Unlike Drake and Future, who do have melodic elements to them, Young Thug opens his verse very spaced out and unpitched.
Too sexy to count. Fetty, my neck, Bugatti, red diamonds, spaghetti. This paper, I shred it. I swindle, no sweating. I saw you begging. Goddamn, you petty.
It's in the following phrase that he actually starts pitching everything, and he's the highest of the 3 rappers, going B flat but never going lower than G. Also does various combinations of duples, quadruples, and triples.
I ain't done spinning. No pinch, I spin it. Bags in and out. My man ain't gon' steal it. 100 bags for make these young hoes who say was rich. A green gators, they look like a switch. Georgia, yo, I spit 26 licks.
It's at the end of Young Thug's verse and near the end of the song that he becomes extremely melodic. In fact, the way he's singing and the way his melodic line moves, you might think we're not even in E minor, but G major.
Too sexy, my neck, baguettes, molest me, caress me, I'll let you today ski. I've been kicking shit, might need a prosthetic. I pray to the chopper under my pillow, too fairy.
Drake is very much one of those artists that could really make anything and it would be a Billboard hit. Not necessarily downplaying the success of this song, but when it comes to him, it really does make you think. This is also supported by the fact that on this, he's got some very big features. Hey, I guess when you got a lot of high profile...
Friends and send her back to metro housing.
Yeah, I'm too sexy for this syrup, too sexy for your girl, too sexy for this world, too sexy for this life, too sexy for that jack, yeah.
No, but for real, the man puts out a lot of hits and has a lot of awards for said a lot of hits.
I'm too sexy for this chain, too sexy for your game, too sexy for this fame, yeah. I'm too sexy